Hi everyone, this is Coach Nancy, the owner of MomSpiration. And for those of you who don't know, MomSpiration is a movement geared towards empowering women and mothers to live their best life and to live without limitations. And welcome to our first webinar. This webinar is going to be about courage, time, and balance. The goal of this webinar is to ultimately challenge you all to reflect on your own goals and to challenge yourself to begin accomplishing them. Congratulations! You've taken the first step to being a better you and living the life that you want to live. Continue to the rest of this presentation, and I just want to let you all know that thanks for actually taking the time out of your day to even watch this presentation. It means a lot to me, and it's going to, hopefully, it can encourage some change throughout your life. So again, the topics of this presentation is courage, time, and balance. So we're going to begin with courage. And what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to go through each topic and then I'm going to tie it all together at the end, and then we'll have some reflective activities as well. So, courage. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are, by E.E. Cummings. And what this quote says to me is that it takes courage to show the world the real you, to grow up from who you were in your past, who they told you were supposed to be, who you thought you were supposed to be, and to become what it is that you want to become. What is courage? Definition 1. Courage is the ability to do something that frightens one. Definition 2. Courage is the strength one attains in the face of pain or grief. So I'm just going to briefly dissect both definitions. So the first definition, it says the ability to do something that frightens one. So I believe this stands for when you're first starting something out, when you're in the beginning stages of developing something, no matter what it is, a business, a school, just being a better you, going on a different spiritual route. If it's going to frighten you, and I'm pretty sure it is frightening you for those of you who have started their journey already. And basically, if it doesn't scare the shit out of you, it's probably not even worth it. So this definition for me is just for the beginning stages of courage. And the second definition is geared towards what you'll face throughout your journey, which is pain and grief, because there are going to be some hurdles that you'll have to jump. It's not going to be smooth sailing the whole time. It's going to be some crossroads you'll come. There's going to be times where you feel discouraged. It's going to be times where you want to give up. But in the face of pain or grief, when you keep on going, when you decide to say, hey, I'm still going to go, that is courage. The dissections for the people who are more visual. Key points of courage. I'm going to briefly go through these 3 points. Point 1, courage is intangible. And what that means is that it's something that you cannot hold. It's something that you cannot, I don't want to say feel, but it's something that you cannot physically hold, put in your pocket, take it with you, carry it to the store. It is intangible. And the second point is courage begins in one's heart and translates into thoughts and feelings. So when I was thinking of this webinar, and I'm like, wow, like what is courage? Like how, of course we can define it, but how can you actually put it in terms where where you can break it down for people and they can get to see like, okay, that was courageous what I did. That was very brave of me. So I believe it begins in your heart. Like once you get that feeling in your heart or in your gut that you want to change, that you want to do something different, that you want to step out of your comfort zone, even if you are in your comfort zone, just still being able to do something that you want to do that's not in everyone's box of what they feel like you should be doing. It's courage, and I believe it translates into thoughts and feelings. And what I mean by translating into thoughts and feelings is that once you get the courage and the audacity to do what it is that you actually want to do, or to go on a new journey, you begin to think about, okay, how can I do this? You begin to feel. And what I mean by feel is you begin to have feelings about it. You're either scared, you're either confident, you're either a little indecisive. Sometimes you can be indifferent, but those are the feelings that you'll feel going through your journey, or even just getting started with your journey. And point number 3, the outcome of courage is one's actions. The outcome of the actions are both tangible and intangible. So that's like 2 points for me. I'm going to go over the first part of point 3, which is the outcome of courage is one's actions. So, like I stated previously, courage is just the initial part of your journey. Just the thought, the feeling is the initial part. And what comes out of that is your actions. Once you begin to perform these acts to match your thoughts and feelings, that is the outcome of it. And I believe this is where success is beginning to take place, because some people think success is when you're all done and a million people know you, or your product is being sold in different areas, in different states and stuff like that. I believe success starts when you take that first step. When you take that first step to step out of your comfort zone or to just say, fuck it, I'm going to do what it is that makes me happy, I feel like that is where your success begins. The second part is the outcome of the actions are both tangible and intangible. And what this basically means is, depending on what you're embarking on, that's what will be tangible and intangible. So for a person who's going to school, and I know some moms haven't been in school since they were in high school. I know some moms haven't even finished high school. So it's like, when you think like 10 years in the line, you're like, damn, I'm really going back to school. That can scare the hell out of you, because stuff has changed. Stuff has changed, and you're sitting in the classroom amongst all these other people, younger people, and you can be discouraged. I had a quick story. I had an English class one time, and I think besides myself and another girl, everyone else in that class was older than us. And this was in college. Everyone in that class at least had 3 kids, already married. Like, they already had a life. And when we would get our papers back, the teacher was so hard on everyone. It wasn't even just on them, but they felt like, well, y'all should know this. Y'all just came out of high school. And I was like, when I was making this, I was like, wow, now I see what they're talking about, because that could have been discouraging to have 2 young chicks sitting on the other side, like, we late to class and keep keying through class and turning papers late, but we still receiving an A, at the least a B on papers that they had stayed up all night researching, stayed up weeks researching, fell in tests that they couldn't, because they couldn't understand certain concepts that she was teaching. That was a bit discouraging. But to see those people stick throughout the class, because after a certain amount of weeks, people just drop. But these people stayed throughout their class because they knew the end result of this class was their grade. No, their grade wasn't physically tangible, but that degree that they were going to receive was tangible. But the feeling that they were going to feel, which was accomplished, was intangible. So right now, I just want to give a quick recap of what I want you all to take from this. So since we reviewed what courage is and the key points of it, what I want you all to understand, that just because you start to formulate your plan and begin to take action doesn't mean that you won't become discouraged along the way. I just want to repeat that. Just because you begin to formulate a plan, it does not mean that you won't become discouraged along the way. And I like to look at courage in a cup. Sometimes your courage cup is full, sometimes it's half full, and sometimes it's even on E. Because the struggles of life, or even just the everyday wear and tear of life, can make you tired. And you can become to feel discouraged. And I just want you all to know that the feeling of discouraged is not failure. It is not equivalent to failure. It is just an indicator that you are human. Life has a way of pinching us and saying, girl, it's okay. Stuff don't always go as planned or whatever, but that's life. Some things you just can't take away from life. Everything isn't always going to be peachy creams. It's going to be some lumps and humps along the way, and these lumps and humps wear and tear on our souls and on our bodies physically. But what I want you all to do is not to be defeated. Do not stop. Keep going, because that's what life is here for you to do, to try to get you to become defeated. No, that's what those roadblocks are for. But if you keep on treading along the way, you'll gain some courage back, because you'll say, wow, I jumped that hurdle. Whew. All right, now you got some more confidence and courage to go through the next hurdle. And we're moving on to the next topic, which is time. And I have the quote up here. Many of you probably already heard this. Time is of the essence. And the author of this quote is unknown. And what this quote basically means is that time is valuable. Time is very valuable because we're only allotted a certain amount of time in the day. If you work and you have kids, that means most of your day is now gone, because 8 hours out of the day is to work, unless you have a really flexible schedule. And the other 4 or 5 hours is with your kids. And then once you factor in travel time, time that you got to make for dinner, and then time that you got to make for sleep, your day is basically over. So you have to learn to use your time wisely. And I'm going to go over all of that in the next slides. What is time? So I have 4 definitions here, and I'm going to state all 4, and then I'm going to work backwards to dissect them all. So 1, time is the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. 2, time is a point of time as measured in hours and minutes past midnight or noon. 3, time as allotted, available, or used. 4, time is an instance of something happening or being done, an occasion. All right, so like I said, I'm going to start backwards. So the last definition is basically, to me, how I look at that is where you're at in your life. Not even where you're at in life, just basically history. So in each decade, there's different eras and time for different things that have been taking place, an occasion. So in the 50s and the 60s, you had the civil rights movement. Then and then way back then, you had, I don't want to say, you had like the wars and stuff like that. Women's movement, voting movements, all this stuff took place at a specific time. And in history, we do talk about them as occasions. Definition number 3, time as allotted, available, or used. So that's basically what I just said in the previous slide about how we're only allotted 24 hours in a day. 24 hours isn't available because we use most of them between work and sleep. So you have to use that other little bit of time to split between you, your family, and your own personal stuff that you want to work on. And then definition number 2, time is a point of time as measured in hours and minutes past midnight or noon. So basically, this is the literal definition of time. This is how we measure space. And then the first one, this is my favorite one. Time is the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. So when I see this, I look at me, myself. I'm the whole. My life is the whole, right? So your past, present, and future is what makes you who you are, right? And then the definition itself says time is the indefinite continued progress of existence. So we exist every day to progress. We're put here to progress. Now, at times we may stand still. At times we may feel like we're declining. But your overall goal is to progress every day. Every day be better than what you were yesterday. Some people feel like they don't have to change. Then that's when they stand at a standstill. Some people start to change. They either change for the better, they change for the worse. That's not for me to judge. That's for them to judge their life. But this is why this is my favorite definition, because it tells us that we are supposed to be progressing of existence. And then this is just a quick slide of the dissection of the definitions of time for people who want to go back but don't want to listen to everything. It's right here for you. So the key points of time. Point one, time waits for no one. And I'm pretty sure we all know this. It waits for no one. It goes on regardless we're dead, sleep, alive, thinking, not thinking, working, not working. It goes on. And if you aren't progressing, you're either declining or at a standstill. There is no in between. Actually, standing still is the in between of progressing and declining. But if you continue to be at a standstill for too long, you'll look up and life has passed you by and you're in the same routine. Quick story, I was in high school and I had choir early in the morning. And my music teacher at the time, Mr. Harvey, well, he's Dr. Harvey now. He was saying, you know how sometimes you be so much in a routine that you don't even know how you got from point A to point B. And he lived in Delaware. And he was like, I don't even remember getting in my car and driving here. I just know that I'm here. And I'm just like, wow. And now looking back at it, I'm like, wow, we become so routine. We become like little robots that we just do it, and we don't stop and say, oh, I'm actually living. We don't get a chance to smell the rose or anything like that because we're basically like in a routine. And even though we're moving, it's still like we're standing still because we do the same thing every day. We're just doing it every day. We're not doing anything different ever. We're just doing this every day, all day. And people do that for years at a time, the same exact routine, and declining. So some people make changes. They think that the changes are for the better, but then look up and they realize that some of those changes actually made them decline in life. It pushed them back a little bit. But the best thing about time is that you can manipulate how you spend your time. But I'm going to get to that in the next slide. Excuse me. Point two, you have to learn to use your time wisely. Every minute counts. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this already, that if you don't use your time wisely, it'll slip away. And the time that you could have been doing stuff that was productive, you've done wasted watching TV, scrolling on your phone, looking at Instagram, stuff that isn't going to help you unless you're like into marketing or you have to watch TV for a living or whatever. Next point is basically a question. What time are you at in your life? And what I wanted this question to do was to evoke some thought into you all to say like, okay, what point am I at? What point am I at in my life? Am I ready to progress? Am I ready to change? Am I okay where I'm at? Am I willing to stand still? Is this the same place I was at last year? Is this place better or worse than where I was at last year? Once you reevaluate your life, I don't even want to say reevaluate. Once you evaluate your life and understand where you're at in life right now, you can better grasp some action plans to actually get things on the ball. Last point, what helps you succeed is how you spend your time. And this is so true. How you spend your time is the determining factor in if you will succeed or not. Because people like Cardi B say, not even Cardi B. I don't even want to reference her. Like some people say, like, I don't have time for that. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And that's because instead of them spending their time doing things that's not going to profit them, be it emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially, they're not doing it. They're not even wasting their time on it because it's not worth anything to them. And that's what made them succeed. Like, okay, me watching this TV show isn't going to do anything but, push me back on my schedule. But if you are a multitasker and you can watch TV and do other things, great. Some people aren't like that. Some people get into a TV show and before you know it, they done fell asleep when they could have been doing something else. All right, so now that we've discussed time, what I want you all to take from this is that first learn that time is the only thing that we have that we can't change. Time is the only thing in life that we cannot change. Like we have to age. The day goes on. Time goes on. The sun rises, the moon comes up. All of this stuff happens regardless of us. Um, However, like I said in the previous slide, what we do have, the advantage that we have over time is that we can manipulate how we utilize it. So even though time goes on, if we use it the correct way, we can win at life. So we get to choose what we have time for and what we don't have time for. So we have the choice to make it be on our side or not. Because I know people always say time's not on our side, time's not on our side, but time can be on your side if you use it correctly. If you utilize your time wisely, it can be on your side. Last but not least, timelines don't always go as planned, but have the same outcome as long as you're putting the work in. So what that basically means is you can have a brilliant idea, a brilliant timeline that you put together, and you're like trying to work to this timeline as best as you can. Things don't always go as planned. Like something else may happen before something else on your timeline happening. But what you have to learn to use is your critical thinking skills. Okay, you have to use everything to the best of your advantage. But as long as you continue to work, it'll have the same outcome. Next topic is balance. Balance is not something that you can find, it's something you create. I don't know who said this. I got this quote off the internet. It didn't have an author to it. And what it basically means is that you just don't automatically think like, oh, if I add this to my schedule, or if I do this, it'll be perfect. Like everything's going to fit together. I'm going to be okay emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. No, you have to keep working on it for everything to align, or else you'll be so out of whack. You'll be like, you'll be so trodden down because once you're out of whack mentally, it starts to wear and tear on your body. And it displays itself at work, in your family, personally. You start to feel down. I know a lot of people who are successful in one aspect, but they're so beaten down because they're not balanced that they don't even feel like they've done anything. They're like, yeah. And you're just like, wow, you got this going on, you got that going on, everything's booming, it's going. And they're just like, yeah, but I still feel like something is missing. What is balance? Balance is a condition in which different elements are equal or in the same proportion. So I like to use myself. Look at yourself and the different aspects and elements of your life. So you have you, which is your personal. I know people put their marriage and stuff in personal. I don't equate that to personal. I equate that to family. So you have your personal, right? That's your own feelings and emotions that you go through every day. Your own thoughts that does not include anyone else but you, right? And then you have your family. That's your husband, your extended family, your aunts, uncles, your kids, or your boyfriend, or whatever, girlfriend, whatever you got going on. And then you have work life. So that's a whole different set of people and energy levels that you have to try to not let eat onto your own energies. So that's a lot to try to balance in 24 hours. And then you don't even get the whole 24 hours at that unless you're like a vampire and stay up. So I had already dissected the definition. So for those of you who want to go back and look over it, here it is. And I have some key points about balance. I have balance isn't something that just happens. You will have to constantly work your schedule to create balance. So I just kind of went over that in that previous slide. You have to constantly work and rework schedules. And you're going to have to multitask. So what I would suggest is if like when you are starting your new journey or you want to start a new job or whatever it is that you sit down and you talk with your family or the people that are in immediate contact with you who can be affected by your decisions. Because then you can say, well, okay, guys, I know on this day we usually do this. How about we move it to this day so I can do this? And if they're okay with it, that's fine. But you just have to try to find a way to make everyone happy, including yourself. Second point, in order to create balance, you have to find not only what works best for you, but also your family. I just sort of went over that. So you just have to make sure that you're not leaving anyone out. And then one of the main points of balance is making sure that no one feels as though they're losing. You don't want it to be a tug of war between family, work, and your personal time. So that's a big point. You don't want anyone to feel like, well, ever since she started this, she don't really have time for me, or she can't even make it to my games, or she can't even perform properly at work because her head is too wrapped up into this. So what you have to do is find a way to sometimes kill two birds with one stone. Like, I know when I'm at work and I have idle time, I don't just sit there scrolling on my Instagram or my Facebook. I'm like, okay, well, let me put this post up. Let me network in that way. Okay, well, I know I want to do this. Let me start writing down ideas for this, or let me research this, because now this is stuff that won't take away from my time when I go home and after I wind down, because I already wrote everything down that I wanted to do. All right, and this is just a recap. So, during your journey in accomplishing your goals, balance is a key factor in being successful. If you don't have balance, you can lose out. Meaning that if you don't work on a way to be mom, wife, employee, student, entrepreneur, family member, and you, a part of you will starve. You'll constantly need to, you'll constantly need to feel like there's a void that you need to fill, thus piling more on your plate and throwing yourself even more out of balance. Or you'll lose out on family time, personal time, and even stop yourself from elevating at work or in life. Although you'll have to sacrifice some things, it's your choice as to what you'll want to sacrifice to create balance. In life, we have options, and in order to create balance, you have to choose what you're willing to spend your time on and what you're willing to sacrifice. So basically, like I was saying, you have to make sure no one loses out. And like I was saying about how some people are so successful, but they still feel like they're missing something. It's because they're lacking in certain areas because they're not in balance. And that's what you don't want. Because like people, I don't mean to scare anybody, but people commit suicide for like filling voids, not filling voids, but feeling like there's something missing. They go on these journeys looking and looking and looking and searching, but they don't really do anything but add more onto their plate and stress themselves out. You don't want to do that. You want to know who you are, know what you want, and know what works best for you and your family. And like I said, some things you'll have to sacrifice. And most of it is time and sleep. All right, so I'm just going to bring it all together for you all. How does how does all three of these topics relate? Courage, time, and balance. So I recently did a survey, and one of the questions was, what stops you from achieving your goals? So I had courage as an option, fear of being out of balance, and time and money. The top three responses that I received was courage, balance, and time. So before I even did the survey, I was already going to do it on courage, balance, and time. But I was getting a little skeptical, like, well, how am I going to show these people numbers or proof that this is all related? I'm like, okay, let me do a survey. So that's what I did. And I expected money to be the number one response. I was so shocked that money came in fourth place that I was just like, wow. I was mind blown because I'm like, I didn't even know people thought that deep into success, because some people don't. Some people think, oh, you need money, you need money, you need money. If I had the money, I could do this. If I had the money, I could do that. I was really proud that people could grasp that as long as you have some courage, as long as you can balance things, and as long as you have the time to do things, shit can get done. Um, so in the next slide, I'm going to tell you how they all relate to each other. So courage, time, and balance all relate because they are needed for success of any form. That's spiritual success, mental success, emotional success, physical success, financial success. Of any form, you need courage, time, and balance. Courage is the forerunner. Like, that's what you need before you can get to time and balance. Courage deals with the mental and emotional part of achieving anything. And I say this because I believe that as long as you have something in your mind, you can manifest it. You can manifest it. But what a lot of people lose at manifestation is they think that all they have to do is think it. Yes, whatever you think is possible, but you also have to put the work in behind it for it to be manifested. You just can't sit there and just think and think and think and think and think and think it's going to happen. No, you have to put some work in. Um, Back to the slide. If you don't have the heart or audacity to even think it, or to even think that you can achieve something, you can't even begin to map out an action plan to achieve what you need, what it is that you need to achieve. And basically, if you can't do that, you don't have anything as far as goals. So what that means is if you can't even have the courage to think something out of the box or to think that you can do something, you have no goals. Time. Time deals with the physical part of actually achieving something. If you don't make the time to do it or use your time wisely, it will never get done. So time is a part of the action plan. And remember that we said a key part of courage was action. Action was the outcome of courage. So in order for you to perform these actions, you need to make time to do so. And last but not least, balance. I like to think of balance as the tie and everything. It brings it all together. It's like the glue that holds it all together. It ties in it ties in both courage and time, mental and physical, because when you're unbalanced, it affects every aspect of you. Meaning if one place is slacking, but one place is doing great, you're still out of balance. Because now you have people nagging at you. Your marriage can be on its way to being over. If your children can start to feel like that you wanted to become successful at their expense, and you don't want that. Your mental will be out of whack and causing you to physically be out of whack, which will cause you to become discouraged. And like I said in the previous slides, that when you're out of balance, it takes a toll on you mentally, which takes a toll on you physically, and it shows up in your home life, in your personal life, and at your work life, and it can do harm to what you're trying to create now. And it can cause you to become discouraged. And even though discouraged doesn't mean defeated or doesn't mean failure, if you are one of those people who stay down in the slumps or who don't fight for what you want, it can ultimately lead to failure, unless you use your time to keep you balanced. All right, guys, you made it to the end of the presentation. So that means I do have a couple more slides, but what this means is that you actually got the meat of it all. You stayed and you listened to me go on and on and on about topics that you wanted to hear or didn't want to hear, but you found it not robbery to listen to me during my first webinar. Excuse me if I said so too much or whatever. This is like my first presentation. But congratulations, you completed this webinar. Thanks for watching. And if you would like to set up a one-on-one coaching with me, Coach Nancy, you can visit the website at www.momspiration.online and book a session. I'm giving you guys, everyone who watched, a 15% off coupon for the first meeting. And what I mean by the first meeting, I mean after you sign a contract, the first meeting will be 15% off. If you're still not sold on the one-on-one coaching, you can enjoy the same coupon for the next group coaching, the next group coaching session, which will either be online or in person. If you can't make it, I'm trying to keep them online because I know it's more accessible for people who are always in the hustle and bustle. And the coupon code is Web1. You can use it online. You can use it online at momspiration.online, not .com, but .online. I'm so used to saying .com after every web address. As I promised, we have reflective activities. So I have 3 different ones for one for each topic. So for courage, I want you to write down your short-term and long-term goals. I'm a firm believer on it's not enough to think it, because thoughts come and go in your mind. But if you write them down, they become tangible. You can hold it, you can see it, you can feel those words on the paper. And I feel like it's somewhat of a way to hold you accountable, because when you look back, you're like, oh man, I did have that written down. When you're looking back in your notes and stuff, you're like, oh man, I didn't do that, or I didn't do that. So I want you to write down your short-term and long-term goals. And for those of you who don't know what short-term and long-term goals are things that you want to see in 2 to 3, maybe 4 to 5 years. Short-term goals are stuff that you can accomplish within 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months. For time, what I want you to do is for about a week, Keep a log of what you do in a day for everything. From the time that you wake up to you just scrolling on your phone. I want you to write down the beginning and end times. So, I'm just going to give you a brief example. If you wake up at 5 a.m., I want you to write in your log, woke up at 5 a.m. If you sat in your bed for 10 minutes and scrolled on Instagram, I want you to write 10 minutes on Instagram. Then for balance, I want you to take that same time log, evaluate it, and look to see where you spend time not doing anything or spend time not being productive. What I want you to do with this is make a mock log, a mock time log, where you can replace the time that you spent scrolling on Instagram, watching TV, or whatever, that you let slip away into things that can be done to achieve your short-term and long-term goals. So this is like a mini action plan for you all. So even if you are multitasker, so say you were watching TV, but you were still doing research on how to get a business license, put that on the time log as well. All right, this is the end. This is the end for real. Congratulations again. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. And again, just stay connected. If you enjoyed this webinar, here's how you can contact us and stay in the loop. You can email us at momchat@outlook.com. Instagram us at MomSpiration, it's one word, _2017. Facebook at MomInspiration, that's two words, capital M, capital I. And you can find us on our website at www.momspiration.online, where you can subscribe and keep up with us with everything there. Thank you all again. Words can't express how grateful I am to have people even watch this, for me to even be able to do this. Like, this was like a big step for me. It just took a lot of courage for myself to even begin all of this. So I want to say thank you all again, and enjoy the rest of your night, evening, morning, day. See you all next time.